we cannot give up. We now find ourselves in a time in history that has precedent, and we find ourselves, I believe, in a time where there are, let's say, peers in history of mass movements of people that mobilize to protect one another in times of fascism and authoritarianism.
Hello everybody and welcome to today's episode of our show. The hottest talk in town now is the successful demolition of the Democrat Party by Donald Trump. And putting it into perspective, the question is, why did everyone in the media, especially the legacy media, get it right? Did they really get it right, or were they pretending to be blind towards what was going on? Because it was obvious. Don Lemon and a lot of other on-the-road journalists, every now and then, walk into the city, walk into the malls, walk into the playgrounds, Trump or Harris. You can go for 100 meters before you see one Harris. Or were they pretending? Or were they undercounting Trump voters? This is the third time in a row that the media has got it wrong. I mean, the Trump voter, the shy Trump voters. And it's not just the US media, it's the media all over the world, especially the left media. The question is why? That is the question everyone should ask. Anyone who follows the news should ask. Why? They are good in what seems to be propaganda, but not good enough in scrutinizing information that they get. They are good in setting narratives instead of bringing the narrative for the people to judge for themselves in a fair and balanced manner. The victory of Trump is, of course, everyone calls it the greatest comeback of all time. But what makes it so significant is the fact that when he left office in 2020, it was supposed to be a requiem. Rest in peace. It was supposed to be rest in peace. Rest in political peace. Never to come out of oblivion. The media capped it out. Donald Trump is done. After the disastrous January 6 riots, that the left or the Democrats and people all over the world that are on the left are calling insurrection. But I mean, that's the first time I'm seeing an insurrection that has no arms and ammunition involved. On that, I digress. People do not ask, why did Trump win? Especially those in the left. They didn't ask, why did he win? In 2016, they didn't ask, why did he win? Already they are Ocasio-Cortez, they're talking about setting up, they're already the resistance.
We are about to enter a political period that will have consequences for the rest of our lives. We cannot give up. We now find ourselves in a time in history that has precedent, and we find ourselves, I believe, in a time where there are, let's say, peers in history of mass movements of people that mobilize to protect one another in times of fascism and authoritarianism. And this is the era that we are poised to enter. Donald Trump has talked about turning the military on U.S. citizens that he deems his domestic political enemies. Authoritarians and people that he affiliates closely with and strongmen abroad in regimes like that, it is not uncommon to jail political dissidents or legislative opponents. This is the world that we very realistically may be entering.
I'm going to watch how they are going to deny the win this time. Because questioning the election makes you an election denier. But the victory this time is so resounding that you need to get a little bit more to doubt it, to criticize it, than just forming a resistance. Talking about economy, the issues that matter were what won the election for Trump. Yes, his personality, but left for the legacy media, he would not have seen the light of the day. Never. But he was using the unconventional means, going to unconventional areas, the podcast. And the highest of it is the few days to the election that he went to Joe Rogan. Until Joe Rogan finally, the day to election, endorsed him. Nobody knows, nobody can tell at the moment the effect of that last minute endorsement. But what is important is that it is now obvious that the legacy media are no more any person's friend. If you want to get information, you can get for 1, 2, 3, or 4 of them at the same time and find out what you want yourself. Even when they are reporting honestly, they fill it up with clickbait titles and keep the subject they're talking about at the end. In which case, though, the headline readers might not have enough patience to read. But regarding the election, Trump was outraged by almost like, I put it this way, Kamala raised almost twice what Trump raised in terms of fund. And yet she lost. She didn't just lose. She lost in a historical way. How? This election victory for Trump was or represent the first time a Republican has won popular vote the past 2 decades. Yet, Trump was outraged. In total, almost $16 billion was spent in the entire election. And you ask yourself, why would people go to the extent of spending this much money to serve? Are they really serving? Are they really serving? I just asked the question. So before we continue, please, if you have not subscribed to my channel, I'm just new in this, please help to subscribe, like, and share. Trump was talking about crime on the street, imported crimes, crime that people who were illegally crossing the border were bringing along with them. You can tell people to feel good, but you can't tell them that what they're seeing on the street, people cannibalizing each other, is not right or is wrong. That they are wrong, that what they're seeing. Of course, the media try their best to do that, telling everyone that crime is down. Immigration, border, crime, inflation, tax cut. Yet, in my own personal view, even though Trump was hitting these issues one after the other daily, anytime he has the opportunity, but I think the Democrat lost. Trump won, but also the Democrat lost. Kamala Harris lost the election. She couldn't talk. She kept on recycling the same subject matter, the same line of thought, the same, sometimes word to word of herself. Yeah, even though those were so catastrophic in themselves, they were bombing every now and then. The one that does the most there were two. No, there were two events that did most devastating blows to her. One was the question by Sonny on The View. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently than Biden? And she answered, nothing comes to mind. Are you serious? Seriously? Nothing comes to mind. The Bush Afghanistan withdrawal, nothing comes to mind. Inflation is transitory, nothing comes to mind. The dead soldiers on the Abbey Gate, nothing comes to mind. High grocery costs, or sometimes 50% to some product, nothing comes to mind. You can imagine, you want to show that you are coming to be different from the person you are, the vice president, and you say there is nothing that comes to mind you would have done differently if you were in the position. That was one. The second one was closest to the election. Yeah, already they call Trump Hitler, fascist, misogynist, everything. But unfortunately, it was no more effective because they have called this for the past 8 years, 9 years. So people already know that. Will they live with it? I guess so, because each single time he was indicted, it continued to increase. Now, the rally in New York, that was what changed everything. A comedian made a joke. He's a comedian? Yeah, he's a roast comedian. But I don't think, if you ask me, that they vetted what he was going to say and allowed him to call Puerto Rico a floating garbage island. But he's just a comedian. On the contrary, at the time Kamala Harris was giving her closing speech, or campaign closing remarks, Biden was on the Zoom calling the MAGA people garbage. You know Trump. He immediately took advantage of it. He was in the next 30 minutes, he was in the garbage truck. Those two incidents, for me, redefined what was already a wounded campaign. The campaign was wounded because the person they are campaigning for cannot talk. She could not articulate her policies in a more coherent manner. So the damage was already done, but those two events I mentioned now finished it up. I knew that Trump was going to win, but not in a landslide. And I'm sure the people in the media knew, only that they are too dishonest to accept themselves that actually Trump has a chance. And that brings me to this question. Since Kamala said in the interview with Jake Tapper that she honestly believed that Trump is a fascist, being the vice president, it is her official duty to certify the election, even though they made it ceremonial after the January 6th incident. Now, Kamala is willfully going to certify election of a fascist. And Joe Biden, who called the MAGA and MAGA people fascists, racists, and the Nazis, is now going to hand over the country has governed for the past 4 years to a Nazi. Or maybe they don't believe it. And that brings me to what the media has been doing. If they don't believe it, then why do they say it? Why did they make it the center of their discussion the past 4 years? When Biden won in 2020, he said that he's going to usher in peace, reconciliation. Because according to his manifesto, election manifesto, he was running for the soul of the country. What happened when he came in? He was as divisive as anything you can think of. So, as he stands, Trump is the president-elect, the 45th and the 47th president of the United States, and the second person to be in the office after losing the second election. So he has been running for the presidency now for the third time. It's a history in itself. But that is not what makes it significant. What makes it significant is that there were events, serious events, that stood out. When he declared, his house was raided. There were a lot of court cases. One in Georgia, in New York, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg. He was even convicted in one, in what people call a Frankenstein case. Before those, he was impeached twice. There was twice his life was threatened, assassination. One was almost successful, and the other one was nipped before he could materialize. He had a mugshot. He walked 15 minutes in McDonald's, and he was driving a garbage truck. Election is about snapshots in time. These are snapshots in time that led to the victory of Trump. Each of them, standalone, is significant, although the most significant is his survival of the assassination attempt. But brought together, they became events that ushered in a new dawn of Donald Trump's reign in the United States. So, if you ask me, the election of Donald Trump is highly justified. On that note, I beg of you one more time, if you have not subscribed, please try to do so. Like and share and comment.